very special webinar, The Importance of Earned Media. My name's Nick Hayes. I'm the Managing Director of Media Stable, and it's Media Stable that's bringing this webinar together. Who is Media Stable? Well, quite a few of you actually know who we are because a lot of you are members, but we are an earned media specialist agency. 14 years ago, we basically went down and said, we're going to start an agency that is built around earned media. In my opinion, earned media is probably one of the most important pieces of media that you can do. And it's no more important now than it was, well, it's no more important over the last 15, 20 years as it has been right now. Right now, artificial intelligence, AI, you've all heard of it, is playing a big role in what we are doing with earned media. Can I just say a big special thank you to everyone that's made the time and to watch this live. And for those that are watching the recording in your own time, I hope you get a lot from it. It's going to be quite exciting. I'm going to break through a lot of what we're going to cover very, very shortly. But first, I'd just like to acknowledge the people, the Ghana people, for which lands I am broadcasting on today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And thank you again to everyone that has joined. The interest in this webinar is outstanding, and I hope we're going to be able to deliver for you some clarity where earned media fits within your communication strategy. We're going to walk through some case studies. We're going to walk through some of the people that are doing it quite well, and we're going to talk a little bit more about earned media and where it fits in with AI. It's a little different to the SEO days. The geo days are now here, and we're looking forward to covering this for you. So I'm just going to switch over to share some of the content that we have. I'm just going to jump into presenter mode. So when I become a little small guy, that is something I'm not quite used to, but hopefully it's going to come up nice and clear for you. The importance of earned media, it is. And like I said, it's never been more important than it is today. And this is an AI world that we're living in. And this is why earned media is going to be critical for you as experts, as brands, as businesses. We need to build on this and to develop it and keep going with it, because you're going to find out a little bit more where you're going to be found tomorrow. What amazes me is that a lot of people are doing earned media and they don't even know that they are. And this is such a great little insight to find out a bit more exactly what is earned media and how it's different to that what you pay for or your own. Other big things I want to cover off today is around the AI citations and where it's searching around earned media. And this is going to be something that you can take away to both your C-suite, or if you're in the C-suite, you can take to your comms team and just ask them the right questions. We've got all those questions for you, so you can take that up or take it down, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. We're going to talk about journalistic earned media. Funnily enough, it's not just sitting in the journalist space, it's also sitting in your own content as well, in blogs. It's sitting in Reddit, it's sitting in all of those Wikipedias and sites there as well. And there's a lot more to earned media than just what sits in the media outlets. We'll go through that today. Where does it fit in your communication strategy? For some, it hasn't actually been thought of. And for some of you on the call, I know that there's a lot of big brands watching this. This might just be a little bit more of a reinforcement of whether you're doing things right or could you be doing things a little bit better. I did mention around the case studies that we're going to go through. I haven't actually asked them for permission to do it. So if you're on this call and you see yourself as an example of good quality earned media, well done to you. And we're going to have some calls to action before the end of it. We're going to give you some direction as to what you can do to improve your chances around earned media and how you might connect with media a little bit better, because we do know earned media is the holy grail. I call it the holy grail because it is so unique. It is so rare. It is not the easiest piece of media that you're going to attain. And that's why we treat it with such respect. It is the difference between your authority, your reputation, people being aware of you, to that of content that might be paid for or glazed over. I'm not here to shoot down advertising. Advertising plays a really important role in all of our brands, in all of our expertise, because just sometimes content just can't make it into the media streams to audiences. We can't do it enough. We can't do it and repetitively enough. So earned media, very different to advertising, but it's earned media that we consume. It's earned media that we dive deeper into. And that's what we're going to have a little bit more of a chat about, how to attain that and work with that. It also carries the credibility of third party. It is the biggest endorsement that you can get. And I think this is the kind of thing that stands out beyond any piece of content that you can produce or send to your audiences altogether. It is the gold. It is the holy grail. So what exactly is earned media? Well, the big part of today is what we're going to be talking about is media coverage. That's your pieces in your newspaper articles, your magazines, online features, opinion editorials, radio, television appearances. These are opportunities for you to express yourself, your brand, your opinion, your position and view to an audience that is taking in what you've got, taking in your opinion and position so that they're either better informed, educated, and sometimes entertained. It represents the biggest portion of what AI monitors and consumes. So that's why it's most important right now, earned media. It is the difference that will make your life and your ability to be seen moving forward far better for the future. But it doesn't just stop at journalistic media. It is in social media as well. So when customers are tagging you, sharing you, putting you out there, that's a form of earned media. And one of the best examples of that was Uber. When Uber first launched, for the first time, people were actually putting up on social media, on Twitter, X, Facebook, what a wonderful ride I got with Uber. How clean is Uber? I even got a bottle of water with Uber. And they were just talking about their experiences there. I think that's really a great example of earned media and why they did so well when they launched, because they used their people the people that were their consumers to really tell their story. The other one's a little bit interesting is influencer and celebrity content. That's basically posts by influencers. Now, most of those are paid. If you're a brand, you have to pay an influencer to do it. But if you get a chance that if there's a chance that an influencer actually does it without pay, it can be very, very impressive. So a little example of that, my sister-in-law has a wellness spa in the Gold Coast. One of the influencers from Maths, yes, Maths, put out that she'd been to my sister-in-law and what a great experience it was. Well, her books were filled for the next 3 months. That's just great influence. That's great earned media. Word of mouth is probably, and for most of us on the call, is going to be the bread and butter of earned media that we work with. Particularly if you're in the professional services or any space like that, it is word of mouth that is a form of earned media. And they're the recommendations. Go and use Johnny, go and use Bev. They are the word of mouth that you actually are looking for. And what people will say in the past has really been the way they've excelled their businesses, raised it to another level. So the word of mouth is a great is still a big player, and it will be moving forward, but it's just part of getting earned out there, getting your message out. And user-generated content, that's your pictures, that's everything that goes along with people talking about you, your product, your service, and in all different formats, from blogs right through to other forms of social media and sharing with friends alike. Now, there is a chat bar on your screen that if you have any questions as we're moving forward, please do put them up there. Say hi to everyone. Say hi if you're enjoying it. Get a bit of sense and feel to the other people that are on this call. If you've got a question, put it up there. Raquel, my ops manager, she will be collecting those and we'll be working through those in the last 15 minutes of the chat. So why is earned media so important? For most of you on this call, I probably don't need to tell you this why it is, because it is something that you firstly foremost hear for on the webinar, but you got a bit of an understanding. But some of these might bring a little bit more clarity around why it is so important. I love the trustworthiness and the authentic aspect of it. It is considered that. It doesn't matter which media it is a part of. We know that media can be biased. We know that it can be leading a particular direction, but it is a rubber stamp of authority and expertise. It is trusted and it is authentic. With advertising, it is bought. It is, we know what advertising does. We've been around advertising all our lives. Even the generations coming forward, they're amongst probably the biggest targets for advertisers today, because they've just got so many different platforms that they're being advertised from. But it does carry a little lack of credibility because it's not earned. It actually is there because it is paid for. People do that, but they respect it as well. But it just doesn't have that earned factor. I think when earned media is more influential in the purchasing decisions, because we do tend to follow what others are doing, and we do like to get good advice, good messaging, at least something that is a little bit more than just being sold to or advertised to. We want experiences. We want that human connection, and earned media does that. Probably the biggest reason it is the most important thing in part of your communication strategy is because it is so difficult to attain. It is elite. If we all could be doing it, we would be, but there's just so few opportunities to do that. Here's a first little tip and takeaway today. If you're working with an agency saying that they can guarantee you earned media, run away quickly. It's not true. There are just so many different factors in there to getting earned media. We'll walk through a few of those. The reason I'm saying that early is there are just so many hurdles to getting there. And that's why it's so elite and it's so difficult to attain. We're going to cover the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the large language models very, very shortly, and to what they use from earned media. This data, this information will change the way that you're connecting and communicating moving forward. And it's not to be a scare or fearful. There's a lot of content going around about this, but AI is here. It's definitely here to stay. 1.2 billion users of ChatGPT just right now, and the rest of them are starting to fall into place as well and getting bigger and larger. It is here and it's here to stay. We'll walk through a little bit of that very, very shortly. I think what is probably most important with earned media is it does give you leadership credibility. It makes you the expert. And I think that's what we're all seeking for, particularly as small business owners and people that are looking to make a name for themselves, be known, be made aware of. That expert status is incredibly powerful. Now, this is not an expert status that's bestowed by a LinkedIn profile that you've written about. This is actually media generally saying this is an expert in this space. And that is incredibly good, not just for brand positioning, but for you talking and working and dealing with your future clients. It's what will be searched for. It will be what people are looking for. And everyone wants to work with experts, especially if they can afford them. You've got an opportunity to educate and inform. And that's where I think we've also got to be very careful with earned media. We're not here to sell a product or service. We're here to develop brand and build awareness around our expertise. If we want to sell a service or product, we should be talking to the advertisers, but we can do that indirectly through earned media, because when you are the expert, when you are the best at what you're doing, this is going to work for you. So this is something to work from. And look, the building of brand awareness, I just think it's the saddest thing to hear. Someone who is so good or a product that is so great that is just the best kept secret. We want people to know we're here. We want them to work with us. We've got to build the brand, and that is critical for it. So I think most of us know why earned media is important, because we're here or we're just discovering a little bit more about it. But that's what we're after. We are trying to make sure that we are here to deliver earned media to a future you, to a future client. AI, okay, the artificial intelligence side. So 84% of citations are coming from earned media, not paid for, 84%. Before I break down the pie of the graph here, I just want to bring up over 25 million links were done, were AI responses from a generative pulse by Muckrack. Now, Muckrack's a United States company in the comms space, and they're very big on supplying to communication agencies and supplying them with different services to make their jobs a little easier. But if we break down this pie graph a little closer, 27%, the biggest portion of the pie, is journalistic. And that's the area that we're going to be covering here today, is the journalistic aspect. That's your radio, that's your TV, that's your print, that's your online media, as we discussed earlier. The really interesting piece of the pie was the corporate blogs and content, 24%. A lot of people I talk to have been talking about the fact, look, I'm thinking about dropping the blog. I'm thinking about no longer doing that. If you're blogging or producing any form of content for your corporate website and in the corporate space, continue to do so. AI will be looking at it. It's just got to be positioned, put out there, and it's got to be available. But if it's good quality content and people are looking at it, AI will find it. The others are aggregators, encyclopedic. That's your Reddits, that's your Wikipedia pieces that people add to and completely and do add further. But the owned media, funnily enough, that is our websites. That is the sites that sit with us. Represents 13.7%, which I still say is incredible when you think about it. Your website is being seen. You've got to make it more seen. You've got to be making it more available to AI. And we'll walk through a little bit that later. The interesting thing, the press release still is 1.1% of citations of earned media. Okay, but how's this? Media press release, 1.1%, but that's even a release that hasn't even made it to media. So when you do have your press release and put it up on websites, make sure that it's out there. Make sure it's seen, because that's good content, good information. Which types of media does AI cite? Okay, so this is just a little bit more further information around what AI is citing. And here's the real one that hits home. 99% of links that are going to be cited by AI are non-paid. That's right, non-paid. That's earned media. 99% earned media, or media that has not been paid for. So the really interesting thing, as much as we might, for instance, with SEO or pay to be raised a little higher, we might be advertising, we might be putting content up and paying our way through, that is not necessarily going to be seen. It is the links that are non-paid. Again, back to journalistic, 27%, the 24% at corporate blogs, and the aggregators at 17.4, and owned media at 13.7. But it's basically non-paid. And academic research, 4%. This is good quality content that AI is looking for. So we wanted to do this webinar partly because the stats and the data is telling us everything now. It's saying earned is what's going to be used to find you tomorrow. Where SEO, funnily enough, been running for 20 odd years, we'll be talking about that in a bit more detail, has been changed and moved, and the algorithm changed. You've heard that plenty of times, and it's very much a pay to play kind of system these days. I'm not shooting down SEO. I'm not saying it's dead. Please don't take that right now. It still has a big role to play, but it is changing, and AI is a big part of that. So geo, if you've heard the term geo, well, you've definitely heard the term SEO. So SEO, we all know that. In fact, it's been a 20 years of SEO that's been around that I still don't quite understand myself, but it is an ever-changing format that has been working for so many brands and so many businesses for a long time. And it still will continue to do so. In fact, Google uses a lot of AI these days themselves, particularly through Google searches. But the generative engine optimization, GEO, it is what is changing our way of search. And there'll be most of us on this call today have used or are using some form of AI in their business. Even though Media Stable, we don't push or promote anything that is AI generated wholly. We are very much about the human story and the human connection. It is the search at the other end. It's the search to find the content where people are asking what is, who is, where is. They're the questions that are being asked, and the earned media is the place for which they are looking for. So the large language models, the ChatGPT, the Geminis, the Copilots, the Claudes, the Geminis, the Geminis I mentioned, they are part of our daily lives now. And they've got free and paid services. They are very much being used and being put in replace of what would be essentially a Google search or placing yourself in that search engine optimization. It's not quite working that way anymore. It's still there, but it's not as prolific. Geo depends on content from earned. And as we saw from that stats and data, it is in that earned space because it's a little bit more trusted, it's a little bit more relevant, and it's what people have put out there. Sure, it's not getting everything right. In fact, you would be mad to do any form of AI search and not go over it with a fine-tooth comb. A lot of things are coming up in different ways, not necessarily right. Always do that. And I think we've got to do that with everything that we do. And that applies to even SEO searches. We've got to be very vigilant when it comes to looking at content that we don't necessarily have had control or it's come back at us. But this is the place that it's going to, and it's learning quick and learning fast. So Geo is what it's all about, generative engine optimization. Got a great little podcast for you to have a listen to at the end of this if you want to find out a little bit more about where that might sit there in your communications strategy. Okay, so we're here because we know that AI is looking at earned media. We're also on this call because most of you have a reason to be in earned media, to gain earned media, to be a part of this system, not just because of AI, because also what it was originally designed to do is actually give you greater credibility, greater authority, build your reputation. It is difficult, we know that, and partly it's because your competition is competing for it just as much as you are. This plays a big role, and we do know, and particularly let's look at the budget that just came out with the federal election. I mean, you've got every big player in the finance and the money space that have dissected and put their glass over to see what they can contribute to the commentary, and that's big and small. But here's a funny little thing about this with your competition. It doesn't matter if you're a junior micro business or you're a major international. It comes down to that content and information that you can provide to the media. They're not really the big walls that are in front of you. Sure, they might have a few more resources and connections, but you know, at the end, it is about your content and what you can provide and what you can back it up with. We'll talk about that a little bit more shortly. But finding opportunities to newsjack, to piggyback off. And that's another thing too. A lot of people that in the earned media space, they're not necessarily consuming the media that they want to be a part of, and they're not necessarily the opportunities to do that. Now, a good agency will help and support you with that, and they will identify the places and times that they can get you in there to be a part of the story. That is a very reactive approach, though, should say. We're reacting to stories that are out there, but in earned media, we can do proactive and reactive. That's a good case there for reactive and being a part of the story with maybe a different opinion, position, or view. Getting a response back from media. There's a lot of people I know that are on this call today that are actually part of the media. And if you went back 18 years ago, it's almost 75% less journalists that are sitting in the system. I know that's a big stat, but a lot of things have changed in the media landscape. Technology has taken over for sure, but there are still need of people, human beings, being at the other end, and it's got a lot smaller. Partly because the human resources have shrunk, and also so have the human and the financial resources have got smaller. It's business. That's simple as that. But getting a response back from media is sometimes very difficult, particularly when you find out how many communications media have on a daily basis. It is nearly impossible just to manage that, let alone do everything that they do in their job. Establishing media relationship. This is critical for you to get earned media. And the reason you want to establish media relationships is that you want to be a media asset to that media. One of the great ways to do that is through the program Meet the Media. Now, we'll share some details around that a little bit later. But when you can connect and engage with the media and eyeball them, connect and find out from them what their day looks like, and then also they can find out what you can do or be for them, it's an incredibly powerful connection and relationship. The day of inviting the journo out for a cup of coffee and a scone is pretty much dead, because they just don't have the time or even the scope or bandwidth to do that any longer. You want to try and make yourself available to Meet the Media so that they can see what kind of media asset you can be, and that you've put your hand up to say, hey, I want to be involved. And reputation. Reputation is something that we are here to build. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take some time, but through media and through our practice and pushing out of content and playing a role in the media landscape, we're building our reputation. Some people are going to be higher, some people are going to be lower, but you've got to continue to build on that. And I think that also means for everyone, whether you're a micro business or an international, keep building that on that reputation. It's everything. And it's going to play even a bigger role in the AI world moving forward. So what's media looking for? Okay. The media today, they're looking for qualified vetted experts for sure. They're looking for stories and yarns that are unique and different, but most importantly, human. Okay. We are looking for human stories. I made a small little swipe at AI around the generating content through AI. We want human stories, particularly from you, the expert. But we know you kind of need some help and support there to come up with ideas. Don't get me wrong on that front. We do use AI in that space, but we want your opinion, position, and view. And so does the media. The media wants it big time. And the reason it is because that connects with audience better than anyone. Any story, any piece of content, that human story will do it. You want quality of ideas, you want depth of insight, nuanced perspective, and a turn of phrase for sure. But it is the content that we want, and we need to get it and position it and package it so that media can see it. And partly what you want to be doing more than anything is, if you've got a relationship with media, if you've got an in, that's the kind of time to actually present that in front of them. Potentially getting through to a couple of producers, presenters, journalists that are looking for your content or working in your space. This is a great time and chance for you to present that. And it's about putting your hand up and saying, I've got something to say. Because again, when I said earlier, sometimes the best experts aren't necessarily the ones that you'll see in the media. They've just got a better avenue to it. This is a way to do it. Build a better avenue to it. Excuse me. Okay, so how do we achieve that? Okay, good stories sell. And by good stories, we're not just talking about the good news stories. We're also talking about stories with spokesperson pictures, things that have got an edge or a different link to it, something that's timely, relevant, unusual, but most importantly, human. This is our opportunity to present those stories. Those stories do resonate with media. It's got to be newsworthy though, and that's the thing. It's not about what's newsworthy to you or newsworthy to your industry. Is it newsworthy to the audience at that end? And when you're creating content and putting that in front of journalists and you recognize their audience and who they are and what they want and need, then you're going to win. And that can be simply by working with people that know what they are after, what will work, what won't. And that is your PR company. That is the people that you've got trusted in your internal comms team. That's the people like Media Stable that can help and support you doing that. So make sure it's newsworthy to an audience, not newsworthy to you necessarily. And those media relationships, I know I'm going to harp a little bit about this, but it's the key to making sure that we do have connection and that we've got every chance of getting that story told, that every chance of that story being told, because there is so many hurdles, as we discussed, to getting it not told. What can we do? And one of the best ways to do it is when your name is recognized for what you do and for who you are. And that is critical when we're dealing and working with media. Okay, this might be the page that you want to take a photo of, because if you're in the C-suite and you want to have a chat to your comms team, here's a few questions that you might want to be asking of them. If you're in the comms team and you want to talk to your C-suite, then these are a few of the directions that you want to be letting them know about, because this is critical moving forward. And if you're a micro, if you're a small business, then again, this is still relevant and relevant to you more so because you've got to do both. How often are you pitching your earned media stories? So in your communication strategy, how often are you doing it? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? What we like to do at Media Stable is 2 times a month. And the reason we go 2 times a month, it's not overdoing it, but it's not underdoing it. Do we regularly achieve earned media, and how are we showcasing it? So if you're getting earned media, have you got it sitting up on your website? Have you got it sitting in places on your LinkedIn, on all different other platforms that people can see it? That's another big thing to be thinking about, because if you've achieved it and you're getting it, you can't let it just sit there either. And that's a big part of where AI will be fitting in. We saw it. We know that owned media sites represent 13%. And we also know that corporate blogs represent anything up to 23%. So it's a big place to be seen moving forward. What are we doing to establish and amplify our profile for more earned media? Well, what are we doing? Are we actually taking the time out to actually write content? Are we getting in there and talking about this in another way? We've got to be out there and talking to the journalists and talking to people that it actually accounts for. Are our competitors beating us in the earned media space? It's always the best sign to see whether we could be doing better or how successful we actually are. If you're doing a search around, let's say you're in finance, who is doing the most conversation in the financial space? Are they up and about? How are they doing it? Are they paying for it? That's a good question. Or have they just built great relationships with people at the other end, with the journalists at the other end, to create content for their audience? You watch what your competitors are doing, but I always say this: don't have the rear view mirror in front of you. Always look forward. But the rear view mirror is not a bad one to have. Well, that's when you actually are leading, I should say. But when you are seeing people in front of you, what are they doing that's a little bit different? Is your C-suite media trained? Another big thing for those in the comms teams: get them trained, get them ready. A lot of the time that we have and things will fall over is that the C-suite aren't ready for it or don't quite understand how the media cycle works. And that's where we need to help them get better at that. If we're business owners, we should be media trained. We should be ready to go. We're everything and everything. We're the accountant, we're legal. We can do this. We should be doing it. And that's a great tip for everyone there, to make sure that you are ready to go. And do we have the skills to do earned media? Are we ready? Are we nimble enough to be able to react and perform? Many organisations that we've worked with in the past is that we can get earned media, but it sometimes falls over because red tape, processes aren't quite ready. And it generally comes from C-suite because they don't quite understand how the media cycle works. As media experts and as media assets that you are, we need to really make sure that the whole process is smooth and clean. Okay, I need to push along a little quicker because I'm sort of am conscious of time. But here are my 3 case studies today. Gemma O'Hanlon, I dare say you might be on the call, but you may not be. She's a dietitian and nutritionist. I think probably one of the most recognised dietitian and nutritionists in the country. And her work, originally working for the Heart Foundation to begin with. Gemma and I first spoke a year before she joined Media Stable, partly because she didn't quite have an offering or a package ready to go, and also sorting out what she wanted to actually do. Gemma has been very strategic, very well planned, has an appetite for media, but she also has a very strategic mind about where she wants to be placed, and plans it each year as to where she wants to be and how she's going to achieve that. Gemma won't mind me telling, one of the most dedicated experts that are sitting there will fly up from her place in Melbourne to Sydney to do a piece to camera, and is very good at it, keeps learning and continues to be very, very good at it. As a result, her work is changing big time, and it's not just as a dietitian and nutritionist. There's a lot more that's on her plate. I can't go into too great detail. She can release that herself, but she's doing amazing things. I think if you want someone to sort of guide yourself, and particularly if you're in the health space or in the food space or anything that is a very generally audience-friendly commentary, Gemma's a great one to follow. Follow her on LinkedIn, follow her on her socials. She does an amazing job. Another one you might notice, Gary Martin. I don't think there's a newspaper in this country that Gary Martin doesn't write for that masthead. He has dedicated his time. He loves writing. He's a great writer. He's a workplace expert, and I'm going to prove that he's a workplace expert because the next page I'm going to show you is the AI search I did on Professor Gary Martin. So he has spent a lot of time doing this. In fact, he's been doing this now for close to 10 years, writing for mastheads, doing a lot of TV and a lot of radio. But I think writing, is fair to say, is his love and his passion. Gary will spend close to a full day dedicated per week to writing. And it works so beautifully, not just for him, but for the Australian Institute of Management Western Australia, for which he represents as CEO. It's his personal brand and his business brand that come together. It's an amazing strategy around from him from the very beginning to raise his profile, but to raise the Australian Institute of Management WA. And they've done a really, really good job. He doesn't just feature in Western Australia, he features all over the country. And let's have a quick look at the AI search around Gary today. The Gary Martin workplace expert was the question, and sure enough, it came up beautifully. But have a look here on the citations to the right from the sources, and they're varied and they're dated, and some of them date quite far, back to 2018. So work that you've done in the past is actually going to benefit your work in the future. And the work that you do now, if you haven't got much earned media, is now an opportunity to build. It's building blocks to be seen and heard. So Gary is a great example of an earned media specialist. And that's an AI citation back from ChatGPT that's telling us all about him. And that's what we're hoping for most of you. If you haven't done an AI search on yourself or your brand or your business, do it. And that's what we've got to work from, because we do know that for a lot, you're not necessarily going to show up, but this earned media space is going to help you show up. And last but not least, my third case study is Kelly Crossley. She's an international supply chain expert based in Western Australia. Now, Kelly first came to us about 4 years ago, and if Kelly, you're on the call, you're probably going to chuckle, but her very first media engagement was Sunrise, and that was a bridge collapse in Baltimore that Kelly was able to identify the issues and problems that would come with supply chain from a bridge that went down in Baltimore. Yes, it was relevant to Australia, and surely we got the right commentary around that. And since then, Kelly has been one of the great spokesperson for supply chain right across the country. So much so that I know even her association doesn't get anywhere near the kind of media that Kelly gets. Now, that does raise one quick thing. Associations do represent you, your body, your brand, whatever your industry. But remember, you've got to represent yourself. It's yourself that you've got to put yourself out there, not necessarily your association. Kelly's done an amazing job getting herself out there across print, radio, and TV. And one of the really impressive, because she actually talks to an audience that we can understand and get a sense and feel. And it's a great expertise that she has that really resonates, because we all want to know where our Christmas gifts are coming, and particularly during COVID or post-COVID, supply at the moment is really tough. That Strait of Hormuz is a problem at the moment for petrol and fuel, a little bit different, but supply chain really important. One of the key things that you'll find with all three of these case studies is that they've been avid attendees to Meet the Media. And Meet the Media is a place where they've got a chance to meet the media that they are looking to engage. And it really does take them and takes them off the paper, takes them off the release, makes them more human, makes them a connection. Take a photo of this if you can. This is a great way, the top tips, I suppose, from experts that actually attain and get earned media. I'll walk through a couple of them very, very quickly. Say yes to all and any media engagement, as long as it's de-risked and it's not an issue there for you. I think those that say yes, particularly in their first year of doing media, they get better, they improve, they're good at it. Always follow up with a relationship with the journalists, a nice email afterwards to say, thank you for letting me come on your show. If you ever need me again, please feel free to call. Be happy to throw you a few ideas moving forward. You build that relationship, because that's the connection that you've made with them. If you're a comms team, absolutely. If you are an external PR team, you've got to continue to build that relationship with the media as well. Be a media asset for them. I'll talk about that a bit. Well, you'll hear me say that a lot over my time. And look, I guess you consume the media programs that you want to be a part of. I know that a lot of experts and commentators don't have a lot of time to engage, to take on programs or listen or consume it, but believe me, if you do, you are going to deliver better product. So I'm not saying you have to listen to all of 3AW Tom Elliott, but listen to parts of it that are really the part that you really want to be, and get a sense and feel for Tom. Not just go in there cold and blind, because that will make it very difficult to engage him. And when you can say that you listen to the program, it really does hit in with egos. Okay, I've got about 3 or 4 minutes before we head to questions. So if you've got any questions in the chat box, fantastic, shoot them through. But I just wanted to share with you 2 fairly significant resources that can help you with earned media. You've heard me over the last 40 odd minutes talk about Meet the Media a little. And for a lot of you, I know I saw a lot of you on there. In fact, a lot of you are actually already attending a Meet the Media somewhere around the country. We're in Brisbane, Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide. And they are fantastic events to not only connect and engage and learn from the media, but for them to actually meet you. The great thing that I get from a Meet the Media is that the media themselves love to come to these events, because they walk away with a bucket load of ideas and yarns and stories that they would never have got an opportunity to engage. So that's just something to think about. I really encourage you to get to one, get to 2 or 3, particularly if you've got a national focus. The Sydney Meet the Media is full of national media. But if you've got a consumer, a health play, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, Adelaide, and Perth are all great places to be seen. And when you're local as well, so if you're a Melbourne company, a Sydney-based company, and a Perth-based company, understand who's who in the zoo of media. It's a great place to connect and engage with them. And you'll also find that the other attendees are in a similar boat to you, and they'll also be great connections to have. If you use the QR code, you can use that to bring it up. And actually, I better come off the share, because I'm probably blocking the QR code. That's always a good thing to do, isn't it? Sitting there in front of it, and no one here to tell me that I'm doing it. But I'll do this and go back to slide share. Is that better? I hope so. I hope you can see the QR code. If you can't see the QR code, then I'll make sure that you'll be able to see it in an email that'll be followed up. That is Meet the Media. It's around the rest of the country. Brisbane kicks off in July, and we finish up in Adelaide, which is also always a great event for the local Adelaide people, and particularly for the fact that the connections there are some of the best and have a national focus as well. So that is Meet the Media. And last but not least, if you're interested, and I know a lot of you already are Media Stable members, our packages start from 9K and they go up to all sorts of numbers depending on your needs. But I think what this is, and particularly if you're sort of a micro, small, and even medium-sized business, this is a great platform to kick off. We do work with a lot of big players as well. So by that, I mean, we work with their CEOs, their MDs. Every CEO, MD should have a media profile, whether they like it or not. If you're a CEO or MD on this call, you should have a media profile. And if you're the comms team on this call, use this to send up to see the C-suite and say, hey, we need to start working on this. Human beings want to hear from human beings. This is it's a simple thing. Brands can tell a story, sure, but they want to hear from the human, and that's exactly what we try and do here with Earned Media. I am a big user of LinkedIn, if you haven't worked it out, and I think a lot of you already know that because I bombard you probably 3 or 4 times a week on LinkedIn. Love to connect with you on LinkedIn if we haven't connected already. And if you have any questions after this call, after this webinar, please, there's my contact details and my email and mobile. You're more than welcome to join in. So I hope that you've got a little bit from that. I think if anything from this webinar that you take some clarity away, and I'll go to the questions shortly, but if there's any clarity that I can get, that you can walk away and say, I know where AI sits with our communication strategy. I know where Earned Media is working and moving to be seen, to be available to those that are looking for us. Because when they're looking for us and it comes back to them, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that over anything that you've actually done in any form of marketing or communication. Earned Media plays a role behind the scenes. Okay, I'm just going to go to a few questions. I hope I do them in order. Donna Worthington asks, can you recommend C-suite media training and or resources? Absolutely, Donna. In fact, if you look on the Media Stable website, we've got media trainers right around the country, but we can also, I'm happy to recommend any media trainers that might be in your particular space. The thing with a media trainer, it's really important that they are connected with your industry or with brand and know the ins and outs, because it's really it's one that's quite a relationship build as well. And the other side of media training too, you want to work with people that haven't been too long out of media. A lot of media trainers out there today haven't been in a studio for 15 years, and that is a bit of a trouble, bit of a worry. So Donna, yes, definitely can recommend. I'll put that in the show notes that are going to come around. From Gabby Hammett, she says, does GEO cover informative and educative reels on your topic of expertise on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook? Yes, Gabby, it does. LinkedIn is a big place for AI. Okay, generative works big time on Geo because there's so much quality content sitting on there. Where it works a little differently, I think in Instagram and Facebook, it's a little bit more, I don't think necessarily as connected or distant. I might be not telling the complete package there, but it is not necessarily the place that it will be seen. The reason LinkedIn works very, very well is because of the quality of content and the information that sits on there. So Geo is working off that. In fact, a lot of the searches that I do and currently do when I'm looking at future experts is the LinkedIn profile is never too far away. Funnily enough, when you do an SEO search as well, your LinkedIn profile pops up pretty quickly as well. So it does work on a sort of similar kind of basis. Chelsea Wank and asked the question, If coffees with journalists are out, what would you recommend instead for a relationship building in between the Meet the Medias? Great question, Chelsea. So the other things to think about is when you're following a story, or if there's a particular journalist in your space that is writing, broadcasting, putting together content that's relevant to your area, drop them a little email. But drop them a little email with saying, love what you had to say on 3AW, love what you said on 6PR, thought what you wrote in the AFR was brilliant. And just tap into them and let them know who you are, what you do. Yeah, look, they might be up for a coffee. They might be up for even maybe a bite to eat if you've got something to give to them. If you've got 2 or 3 quality yarns that they could work with, and it really does work in their favour, but you've got to be a little bit careful. You don't want to waste time. So outside of Meet the Media, the other things to think about, yes, is email connection. I wouldn't necessarily pick up the phone. And for a lot of people who know me, when I say don't pick up the phone, it's completely the opposite of everything that I say. I say pick up the phone all the time. You don't want to waste their time on that front, but you want to get their attention. And nothing gets the attention of a journalist with a really quality yarn, straight to the point, connected, know what we're going to be talking about, and understand where you play your role in that. So there's some good ideas as to sort of not necessarily having to go to an event or a networking event like that. The other side is find events that they might actually be at or what they're doing, and then maybe immerse yourself into that. A lot of the communications, not just agencies, but representative bodies do a lot of these kind of events, and they're a lot more affordable too, but they're a little bit more less personable and probably a little less sort of interactive, but it's a great opportunity to meet and connect. Networking's everything. Okay, so I've got a few more questions there. I'll go through. Donna Worthington and Ruth Barnett, 2 people asking the same question. What about Substack and platforms like that? Would that sit in the social UGC or larger category for corporate blogging? Yes, Substack's big. Okay, it is becoming big. Some of my favourite commentators in the comm space are all in Substack, and they're learning, and people are finding out more about that. So while it's an alternative to journalistic space, it is sitting there in that content blog area that is working really well. So most definitely, if you've got Substack and you're presenting either the paid or the free model, it's about quality content. But just remember this is the only thing that comes with this, is that it's not necessarily that big audience that you're potentially looking for. That's the first thing that a lot of us need to sort of tick the box. Are we reaching an audience that is getting there? Now, in an AI world, obviously very different. AI is the aftermath, it's the after effect, most certainly. But you've got to remember the amount of content and the amount of Substacks that have got that kind of content that's out there. You're swimming in a very big ocean, and that ocean is only you're only going to get seen in that ocean depending on the quality of the content that you have and the engagement that you have. That's really critical. So yeah, I would definitely continue and keep on going down that path. Sharon Chalwell asked, does AI recognize cite a blog that has been part written by AI? Oh, great question. I'm going to say yes, it does, Sharon, but I'm not a complete expert in this space, so I won't go into any great depth, but I think it won't necessarily rate it nearly as high as what it would with pure human content. That's just simply because AI is very good at collecting content that is going to come back to you, that is going to be sort of suiting what you're after, but also trying to get content that is human driven, or it has got content that is going to make a bit of a difference. It really does want to please you, so it wants to give you the highest quality. I'm not suggesting that AI content isn't of the highest quality. A lot of it is getting very, very good, but if it's not unique and different, then it's kind of just another part of the big mess that's out there. I hope that kind of answers your question, but I shouldn't really speak with any authority on that because I'm not a geo expert on that front. Oh, here they come. More questions. Melanie McFarlane, thanks so much, Nick. Super inspiring. Oh, that's comments, more so questions. Thank you, Melanie. Good to see you out there. Marjorie Collins, hello. Sam Jackson, Nick, do you think the media is shying away from controversial topics nowadays, or are divisive subjects still getting attention? Well, Sam Jackson, I know what you're up to. You and your GLP, I love what you do in that space. Look, I think we've got to be a little careful. Not careful so much as around, excuse me, the topics, but depending on the program and depending on the media, the famous thing is for breakfast TV, they won't touch alcohol, they won't touch any form of, I won't say violence, but they stay away from gambling, etc., the whole sort of things, because it's not for breakfast TV, more your after hours. I think they do like the divisive subjects, but you've got to remember that they also want the right experts and commentators because they can get themselves into a bit of trouble. You're one talking about the Ozempics and the GLPs of the world. Not so divisive. It's pretty mainstream these days, but the way that we deal with it and work with it, and some of the social media content that's out there, not so crash hot. And that's probably a good message for everyone on the earned media space, is that when you reach that earned media space, you kind of carry that authority and that direction that you are the expert, the commentator, and it has a little bit more emphasis on being real as opposed to a lot of the garb that is in social media. I'll quickly go through some of the points. Rebecca Freeman, thanks, Nick. Really enjoyed Media Stable job. Okay, good. Thank you, Rebecca. Meg Rayner, we've seen notable different. Yeah, great. Thank you for the comments. Lovely to see those. I don't know if there's any more questions, Raquel. If there is, I might just start to finish up. But I will say this: earned media, it is tough to get. It's gold. It's the holy grail. It's tough to get because it's so well regarded, but there are ways and patterns and methods and processes to getting there and to making sure that you can find the earned media space. I think that there's an opportunity for everyone to be a part of it. You just need to make sure that you've got all your hurdles lowered, all the obstacles pushed aside to try and get every chance of being there. And I really do think from the smallest of business to the largest of business, you have that opportunity to do that. And make sure that you're continually putting yourself out there. To Sam Jackson, to your response, be a little bit, take a few risks, but don't put yourself in danger or brand in danger. But go a little bit. Media doesn't like people sitting on the fence. They like an opinion and position. And not all media is going to agree with you, but why do we want all media to agree with us? That's the beauty. So if you've got a brand or position, please reach out, connect, and make sure that that we are talking. If you can get to a Meet the Media, you're doing your brand and yourself a big favour. And moving forward, just continually consume the media that you're looking to be a part of. It's so critical. And you'll find that there will be inroads and connections for you to jump up. I've just got a quick question here. Any tips for organisations that find it challenging to have an opinion? The scientists I work with find it very hard to have a view position, which makes PR tricky. Well, for whoever wrote that, fantastic, because scientists are very difficult to work with in the media. They don't like the media, and sometimes it's hard and challenging to do that. You've got to work with them and get them to understand the importance of mainstream, not so much in those in the papers that they write for and the journals that they write for. They've got to be seen in mainstream. So I think the tip I would give to them is, if you do this, there's a very big chance your grant will get passed or get moved. More people know about it, it's harder to be declined. And one last question: when you have participated in earned media across various platforms, how would you know your reputation in media lands? Well, that is a great question, Marjorie. I think when people are talking about you, when people come up to you at the next conference and say, I love what you wrote in the AFR, The Age, your view on Channel 9, I thought was fantastic, or I didn't actually agree with it. This is the impression that you're putting on people. It's not you don't get it immediately. It's a tap approach. It's a continual approach. You've got to continue to work on this. And when people start to ask you or start talking to you about the things that you're doing and you're not even in their circle or part of or outside of your circle, you're going to realize that your earned media is starting to work. But I'll give you the biggest tip for earned media and the success that comes from that. I won't name them, but the contracts that they have gained and garnered from earned media alone is incredible. It's not because they advertise somewhere. It's not because they put this lovely pamphlet or piece of proposal together. Someone was reading a piece that they'd wrote, or was watching a piece that they did to air, listening to a radio interview that they had done, and doing it in their own time, and made decisions there. We make decisions around real media, media that is earned, not necessarily that we do what we advertise. Advertise want us, they got to keep doing it, but earned we consume, and advertising we tend to glaze over. And that's when you start to realize that earned media is working for you, and you're starting to have a response and a reaction from the people that you're looking to influence. That's a really big an opportunity for us. I better close because it's 11:30 and I respect your time. I want to thank you all for coming along, for attending. It has been a great webinar. Over 200 of you signed up for today and really enjoyed it. Please do reach out for my through a connection through my content here, and let's stay connected. Let's do more earned media, and I'm sure our future business, our future brand is going to be very AI friendly. We'll look forward to seeing more of you in the media.